2020 saw the release of a trio of rhythm games all attempting to accomplish the same goal of spicing up the rhythm genre. Interestingly enough, they all had the same fundamental idea of splicing rhythm games with different genres, but went about it in slightly different ways with varying degrees of success. The first one on this list is a game I've already talked about, No Straight Roads. No Straight Roads is an action beat-em-up focusing heavily on music as a whole. Enemies attack the player based off of beats from different forms of EDM, and the game has a lot of charm and color, which was what initially dragged me in. Unfortunately, I don't believe the game leans hard enough into the rhythm side of things. Besides enemy attack patterns, the beat of the song has no influence on how the player interacts with the game. You can be offbeat and often will be with no punishment, or more importantly, no reward for timing inputs correctly. This exact issue was addressed in another title, Bullets Per Minute, which is a roguelike FPS rhythm game. A strange combo for sure, but one that I feel works shockingly well. Shots, reloads, and dashes all have to be performed on beat. If these actions are not done as intended, then nothing will happen. You can move regularly off beat, so you can make the game easier for yourself with good positioning, but that can only carry you so far. The fundamentals of shooting and reloading when you need to really carry the game, since certain gun types will feel better in different players' hands. I found I personally like the rifles a lot while not being fond of shotguns. The game is a ton of fun, and for the cheap price of $20, it's easy to recommend. By the way, I recommend you try it. But of course, it doesn't come without its flaws, a really glaring one in particular. Yes, I'm not a fan of its art style, or so much as the filter. Doom already showed us how to make a demon-filled hellscape look good without an over-reliance on lighting tricks. But then again, they had the backing of AAA money. Still, I feel simplicity would have done better here. Currently, I'm constantly squinting my eyes to get past the bright orange and green filters. The game also suffers from a problem all roguelikes go through, which is the short and repetitive early game. It also feels doubly bad here since you are listening carefully to the same song rather than it just being background noise like in other roguelike games. Now this leaves us with the last of 2020's trio, and the one I believe has the most polish. This is Nippon Ichi Software's Mad Rat Dead. Platforming and rhythm games have some similarities. Inherently, they are both about getting from point A to point B. In a platformer, it's getting to the end of the level, and in rhythm games, it's getting to the end of the beat map. They both share obstacles when attempting to reach that goal, like how platformers will have bottomless pits and enemies, while rhythm games will throw slides and jackhammers in order to change things up. Mad Rat Dead is a rhythm platformer and mashes together these two genres at the same time. Its difficulty doesn't come from the obstacles thrown at the player, though they do get harder on later levels. Rather, it's the basics from its admittedly weird system. Movement is completely tied to the beat, so what was originally simple runs from one side of the screen to the next now are small dashes tied to the beat. Mad Rat has a limited set of movement options. He can dash, jump, double jump, which does not provide much extra vertical space. He can smash downwards while in the air, or dash attack into enemies, and his most complicated ability is a charge up, which does exactly that. Charge up his next jump and dash for a little more distance. It can also stop all momentum and keep you floating in the air for an extra bit of time. These tools aren't complicated, but here's the catch. Everything needs to be performed on beat, and the level must be completed within a certain amount of beats. You can't just clear the level, you must complete every level within a time limit. This doomsday clock ticks down every beat, and while you can pick up these fragments for bonus time on the clock, they never make a huge difference in your total time, and if it ever does tick 0, it's game over. Mad Rat Dead from the get-go requires some level of mastery, and it slowly builds on you learning these fundamentals before it starts testing you. Like how many of the early sections require you to just wall jump. Then you must learn to wall jump quickly, or they begin to add obstacles designed to trap the player which you can get around by delaying your jumps. All of which, again, has to be completed on beat. And that right there is why I enjoy this game so much. While its ideas of splicing two genres together is neat, it's the way the game builds upon itself that keeps it from just being a gimmick. Later levels require mastery of not just one move, but all of them, and levels that used to look like this, now look like this. The difficulty of the game is also very customizable. You can pick any track with any level after completion. This can make earlier levels a larger challenge as you watch your clock tick down faster due to the higher BPMs. The game isn't all difficulty though. In fact, it has a very forgiving mechanic, allowing the player to turn back time on def or whenever they want. Though the downside of this is the loss of your current combo streak, and you don't regain ticks on your counter from rewinding. The game doesn't expect you not to make mistakes, and is fairly generous with the time allotted to the player. Mad Rat Dead is a splice of two genres that I would call a success. All these good points have been highlights of its gameplay. I haven't even talked about its absolutely wonderful soundtrack, or its charming punk aesthetic, or even its story, which has some shockingly good twists. But I don't want to completely spoil it since I wholeheartedly recommend you try this game. My only complaint with the game right now is its availability, which you can only purchase for the PS4 and for the Nintendo Switch. It's got a fun new idea that the studio didn't take to the furthest extent, and I think they could expand on what they have already laid out, especially since their first attempt really hammered in the basics. Mad Rat Dead is a game I hope gets a sequel, or at least a spin-off of some kind that uses the same system that they've already established here, since I think this is a new direction that rhythm games could go into. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick recommendation. I want to thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you guys have a good day. Goodbye.